So it looks like we've got through our program. Upcoming next, I would like to do a brief introduction because Charles is going to tell us about himself, of Charles Murch. I've known Charles for quite some time in the association. A big man with a big voice, and we really miss the horns, Charles. I'd love to see the horn on there. Charles has been with the Executives Association for quite a bit of time now. His dad was a member as well. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce Charles Murch. Charles from Berkshire Hathaway, Realtor, HomeServices, California Properties. Charles, you're on.
Well, thank you, Vicki, very much. And I want to first off thank all the execs, the associates. I guess we don't have any honoraries. I don't think we have any guests. And then, of course, Robert's helping me out, and hopefully I can get this presentation up and going correctly. And let's see, what do I need to do, Robert? So I zip everybody out. Okay, so what do I do, Robert, now?
You press on share screen at the bottom.
Okay, the share screen, there we go.
And then you choose.
Yeah, there's the microphone, there we go. Okay, share. Okay.
Share, and then put it in presentation mode.
Which is, I think, the screen. Is that it, like that? Okay,
Good
okay, good. Okay, good. Well, anyhow, yeah, I wanted to thank everybody on that. And just, just a real quick thing before I get going is, this is going to be my 20th year in this association. I can't believe it. My first meeting was in 1999. I came in with Gil Cleakin, who was the executive member at the time, and said, "Hey, I want you to come to this execs meeting and stuff like that. My dad used to be an exec." And so I said, okay. And so I went with him, who was exec at the time. And that was the first time I attended a meeting. It was in 1999, but I officially came in January of, at the end of December, January of 2000. And here I am. So 2020, excuse me, 2000, yeah, right around there. So anyhow, I, like myself, and one of the second generation people in here. Granted, my dad was with Barney and Barbie, now Marsh McClanahan. And we have several other members that I thought about that still do. They're second generation. We have Bill McCall. I know he's on. His dad was in, Don and Dan Teamsma, Greg Garner, Mark Morton, Joe Jones, Jamie Ogle, Vanessa McGrath is a second generation person as well, and Byron Frost. So it's kind of neat. We have this family organization. It's a small business, but family, and I think it's a great thing. So, and then just a couple thank yous real quick before I get into my presentation, because a lot of these people are the ones that really help me, especially to do well in business, and also as far as getting me quotes, estimates, repairs, things like that. I want to make a real quick thanks to Steve Coulter. He helped me out quite a few times this year with clients, with Copper Electric. I wanted Dan, Don, and Joe over at Ideal Plumbing. They helped me out a lot. Tanya Courtney with Tycor Title, John Galakowski, Dave Nichols with Rug Renew. He did some carpet stuff for their clients last year and stuff like that. So, okay, I've got a few notes, just but very few, because I'm trying to remember everything. Let's get going on the presentation. So now that I do this, if I'm doing this right, here we go. So how did I get to where I am? Well, Charles Emery Clark. This is Charles Emery Clark the first, and one of the names that I was named after. Obviously, we have a lot of Charleses in the family. It's a family name. This is a picture of him from the Civil War. He won the Congressional Medal of Honor. I think it was on May 4th. It was in 1863. And let's see, what was the place? I forget it's called. It was at Brooks Ford in Virginia. And, he's a unique guy. He was actually nominated for president back in the day. And he said, the famous quote that I read up, there's a lot of stuff, if you look him up, you can read a lot of stuff about him. It's pretty interesting. And his quote was, he says, I've had enough awards, give it to one of the other boys. And he just didn't have any interest in running for president or being nominated for that. So he said, I'll pass. Okay. And Charles, like I said, is a family name. If you look right there in the photo, the gentleman with the hat is my grandfather. That's Charles Emery Clark II. The gentleman next to him that's Charles Emery Clark III. That's my uncle Charlie. He just recently passed away. And then the oversized kid sitting there, that's me. And then there's my cousin, who's Charles Emery Clark IV, sitting on my grandfather's lap, and he's about 6 months younger than I am. That's him right there. So that is where I got the name. There's a lot of Charleses, and the name is now ending because there's no more of us. So my cousin will be the last in that generation. So anyhow, let's go to the next. Okay. So Susanna Martin, and so I want to talk real quick about this. Susanna Martin is a relative of mine, and she was a witch, or she was killed for being a witch in 1692. On July 19th of 1692, she was executed for witchcraft. She'd been accused of it twice before and got out of it. And her husband eventually died, and she had 8 children and was basically in poverty at the time. And some girls from another town accused her of that, and she was one of 4 women that were hung for witchcraft and on that date in Salem. So a bit unique. And people ask me sometimes, how do I get things done in real estate? Because I seem to make the impossible happen, and it's because of witchcraft, and it's got an ancestry of that. So I just wanted to let you know on that, something a little interesting about. Okay, next, family. So I go through that. That's myself, my lovely bride, Bonnie, right there. There's my lovely wife, Bonnie, with my daughter, Ava. We've been married for 21 years now, together for 26. You know, she's been really lucky to have her. That's just more of the family right here. Up in the upper left corner, that was my family on my dad's birthday, August 15th. We were
actually, it goes to this side.
Eat some stuff. There was another photo. This was back when the COVID first started. We were down at the tide pools when it was real low. That was December nights of last year. We didn't get to have one this year, but that's our family. That's my buddy Mike, which they can call Uncle Mike because it's the only uncle they really have. And that's my family. I think this is in May. We had right when one of the restaurants started to open. Those are 2 clients of mine there. They're so happy with me. They hadn't met the family when they wanted to meet the kids. And I'm like, you sure want my kids going out to a restaurant with you? And they said, yeah, we want to meet them. And I said, okay. So you may regret this, but we went out. We all had a good time. It was real nice to actually be able to sit down and eat and have somebody serve you versus eating on styrofoam and stuff like that. Okay, onward, nextward. So this is my son, Thor. You know, I want to put some photos in here of the family. So a lot of you guys know him, but you haven't really been able to see the kids. What does he like to do? He likes scootering. So he does the pro scootering. And if you look up there in the corner, the upper left-hand corner, you can see him flying through the air. If you see the building in the background, it kind of gives you an idea how high up in the air he is. I know some of you guys see his videos that I occasionally post on Instagram. Kid loves to fish. That photo was taken us last year. I was out on a friend's boat. We went out and got a ton of tuna, and they're real happy about that. There's a picture of him fishing in the bay this year. And then that's his birthday. And unfortunately, because 2000 with all the COVID stuff, he couldn't do anything really for his birthday. So I said, what do you want to do? And he wanted lobsters for his birthday. So I went out and bought the biggest lobster I could find and some smaller ones. And that's him with his Viking hat on and a meat tenderizer getting ready to smash the lobster. We just took the photo. But anyhow, he was super happy when we ate lobster. So it all worked out. Okay, that's my daughter, Ava. Extremely bright girl, just unbelievably off the charts. And those of you that know her know this. I know Vicki Nickerson's husband, Joe, really likes her, and he calls her his adopted grandchild. That was her graduating from the 6th grade in the spring right there. We couldn't have like normal graduation, so she drove in the car. And then if you look down the lower left-hand corner, that is, I think that kind of looks like us, but those are some people that were on the other side of the line between Torrey Pines State Beach and Del Mar, because you were not supposed to be in Del Mar on the beach during the COVID, and they had shut down the beach. And there's some people over there that look similar to us. Next, let's go onward. Okay, so with this bad year with COVID, initially at the beginning of the year, I messed my shoulder up, and I've been in the worst shape. I'm in the worst shape now that I've been in my life, and I'm dealing with shoulder issues. And then we also had, some of you remember my cat, Thor Kitty. He passed away. He was 18 and a half years old. We had to put him to sleep, and I know a lot of you out there are very close with your animals. Brown Marcotte, Debbie, others are very close to animals. It always just kills you when you have to put one to sleep. And this was a rough one with the whole COVID thing. But with everything that happens, you eventually change onward. So I went and got some new kittens, some new Bengals there. And that's Ragnar and Freya. They were 12 weeks old right there when we got them. We got them towards the end of August. And I really love having the cats. I'm a big cat person, especially the Bengals, because they're like almost like dog personalities, extremely active, very people oriented and stuff like that. And as some of you have known, I used to spend a lot of time at the zoo looking at the big cats. I really enjoy them. So, and there they are right there. Just some photos. You can kind of see them. They're getting a little bit older right here. And that's Ragnar's the one on the left with the big spots on him. And then that's Frey with the smaller spots on the right-hand side and stuff. So there you go. Okay. All right, just a few things about me. You kind of guys all read. I mean, I like, as far as in the bulletin and stuff like that, I like opera, I like art, I like fishing, I love working out. This trip right here was a trip that Janine Joseph from Kahala Travel put me on. Over there, there's a friend of mine that got us hooked up with some fishing. We really got fishing on a beautiful boat in Maui and stuff like that. But this is a vacation that Janine set up for us, and it was a great time. Also, I like working out, obviously, like you said. This is Sven Carlson right here. This is in Norway, in Kristiansand, Norway in 2001. He is the one that told me about the attacks on 9/11. I think it's one of those things that people always remember where you were. I was driving through the fjords and taking ferries through the fjords and driving under them and stuff through all the tunnels and a long day. And when I got into town, I was calling him because I was supposed to meet up with him the next day. And he's the one that told me and said, by the way, did you hear about the tax on America and stuff like that? So that's something I don't think we'll ever forget. None of us really do, but he won the world's strongest man. Shortly after that, I was there training with him and his workout partner. And about a month later is when he won the world's strongest man. So kind of an interesting thing. Okay, but real quick, just so I've talked about that about myself. I'm going to break this up. I'm going to talk a little bit about Berkshire Hathaway. I'm going to talk a little bit about as far as why you should use me, some tips for the buyers and sellers out there. I want to talk a little bit about Prop 19. I know Gary has talked about this, but there's another half of the Prop 19 that's what I call the good half, I think, or part of it is, and at least discuss that. And then I'm going to show you guys some statistics as far as what's going on in the market, because I have a feeling a lot of you are going to want to know. So on we go. Okay, this quote by Warren Buffett, you know, I really believe this. It says, a home is one of the most important assets that most people ever buy. Homes are also where memories are made, and you want to work with someone you can trust. One of the reasons why I'm with Berkshire Hathaway is obviously we're the largest company within San Diego. Berkshire Hathaway has an extremely reputable name. It's very well respected, and you'll hear a lot. We'll say we're globally respected, nationally recognized, and locally known. And that's something you'll kind of hear throughout some of the material I'm going to provide. But I think this is really true because most people out there, when you want to buy a home, it's generally, as most people, it's going to be the largest asset they'll ever have. It's a very stressful time. You need to work with somebody that you can really trust. And not to say anything bad, because there's bad people in real estate, lawyers, construction, every other aspect. You just got to really watch out. And I want to make sure that my clients always have the best experience they can. I can't guarantee you're going to have the best, smoothest experience because I'm dealing with so many different personalities and parties. Generally speaking, if I've got a husband and wife on one side, a husband and wife on the other side, and another agent, I'm dealing myself with at least, there's a party of 6 right there. You have all these different people you have to deal with and personalities. Part of my job is taking care of that, making sure everything goes smooth and dealing with the personalities on the other side. So my clients have the best experience, but I can't always control sometimes when people get emotional and all that. It's the nature of the beast. The last one I talked with you, I think we had about 47,500 agents. We're a little over 50,000 agents now. I think at the time we were only in 47 states. We're in 49 states. We're in Hawaii, which I've been over there on Maui. I've seen that. We're in Alaska. And I think the only state that we're not in is in South Dakota. We're also in 8 countries now. We've expanded a little bit more overseas and stuff like that. And the company is continuing to grow. This is Berkshire Hathaway. So we have Berkshire Hathaway California Properties, which is what I'm part of. Also, we have Berkshire Hathaway, which is the larger company. So essentially, we have two families. We're under the umbrella of this. And some of these underneath the Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices are some other company agents out there and companies that are not called Berkshire Hathaway. There are other things, but they are part of our organization. Okay. As I talked about, so this is from 1990, excuse me, not 1990 but this is from 2017. We don't have a new updated one. We were one consecutively for 20 years. It's 22 years now. We will probably win for this year, but this is for the number 1 broker in San Diego County. This is for the San Diego Business Journal. Okay, we won that. We always win the San Diego Union Tribune and stuff like that. Talk to the marketing people. We don't have any new stuff in our market, or as far as our annual convention is going to be coming up here in March. So eventually we may be getting some more updated stuff. This is the Harris Award. We also got this for being one of the most trusted real estate brands of the year. We've previously won the J.D. Power Award for being the most trusted companies and stuff like that. But I think it's just great is that we've constantly getting awards for our company, both for the smaller company and the larger company. Again, in 2019, when I went ahead and I did my last presentation, we were ranked number 3 as far as the most admired companies by Fortune. We're at number 5, but we're still up there. I mean, you can see we're with a pretty good company as far as with the people that the companies that are up there, and I think we're pretty well respected. And I think that says a lot because as far as, like I said, I think there's a big difference in people trust it, whether you're with somebody with Berkshire Hathaway or whether you're with Joe's Rainbow Realty, and it does make a difference, I think. Like I said, locally known, we're really well locally known within the Southern California market, even up to the Central California and stuff like that. I think we're in 5 counties within California right now. These statistics are a little bit dated because the market just doesn't have any newer stuff. We do have 60 offices throughout the state. or we did. I know we closed down our Mission Hills office, which I was in, and we moved down merged it with our Mission Valley office, which is where I'm at now. Nationally recognized, again, it talks about all the sales that we have right there. This was, of course, this is a little bit dated, but we did 328,000 plus sales throughout the country, and it's going to be north of that this year. Again, the data on there is wrong. As far as the agents is wrong, I already talked about we're at 50,000 plus agents now. And just again, about as far as being globally respected, Berkshire Hathaway Properties is part of Berkshire Hathaway, and it is known as for financial institution and being strong. People always think of Warren Buffett, who's one of the richest people in the United States. It's a very well respected company, and I think that makes a big difference. This just real quick, I just wanted for people to kind of get ideas, because it's going to play into the next couple slides as far as how do buyers find their homes. Now, I know that most people know out there that the majority of people that go out, as far as when they start looking for homes, even before they contact a realtor, a lender, or anything, they start searching on the internet. There's a lot of information out there. Everyone's looking on the retail sites, but that just kind of shows you as far as where a lot of that comes from. The biggest chunk of that is obviously going to be internet, and I think that's going to, you'll see why in a minute. It's one of the advantages with Berkshire. And if you do look at the real small one, down around 1% is in the print and newspaper. There's very little as far as like in the newspaper. You don't see that much as far as many people finding properties, or not as many people reading them. I know when I initially came into the business, that was a lot more, but nowadays not so much. Okay. What I was talking about as far as the internet and the way it showed that the majority of people find properties on the internet, this just is going to go ahead and just kind of gives you an idea as far as the amount of stuff that we have there. It says we're at 350 websites worldwide. We're in 100 countries and 5 continents. These are these are some and a bunch of the sites that we're on and stuff like that. Zhuhai, which I'll talk about next in a little bit, is big in China. Realtor.com. We're on anything you can think of, Zillow, Redfin, all these different things. We're on all these sites that are out there, and some you've probably never even heard of, and some that I'm not even aware of. But we're out there and stuff like that. And we do tons of advertising on them, and marketing. So we really get out there, and I think it's the size of the company really helps for a lot of this. Zhuhai, as I did mention, is just wanted to talk about real quickly, is because it does deal exclusively with over in China. We get about 2 million visitors a year on that our stuff gets put out to. There's a lot of Chinese buyers. I think people know that going in the market right now throughout the country. Carmel Valley tends to have a lot of Chinese buyers up in there that have bought. A lot of people coming from overseas and stuff like that as well, as far as China. So, we are literally, like I said, we're globally known, and we put stuff out there. So when I'm listing the people's properties and stuff like that, stuff gets put out there around the world to a huge audience, and you're not necessarily going to get that always from some of the smaller companies and stuff. So anyhow, okay. Legal team. I want to talk about this because I think this is really important, and I'm also going to hit on a few things later when I get to some of the new forms and some of the COVID stuff I'm going to talk about regarding real estate. But I think this is really key, and one of the things I like about the organization is we have a full-time legal team. I think we have about 5 attorneys that are on staff full-time. They're there to make sure that we're doing everything correctly, that we're getting proper training, that we're being aware as far as updates, as far as with CAR, the California Association of Realtors, as far as the forms that are coming out, and that we're aware of the stuff, what's going on. A lot of times also, our company's attorneys or brokers are working, the broker is working with the California Association of Realtors a lot of times, and they will use and create forms based with a lot of our input and what we have to do, because our attorneys are really valued and well known as far as within the California Realtors Association. Okay, now we're going to talk about why should I use Charles Murch, because that's really what it is. Everybody's got these different companies, but why should I use Charles? But the first thing I've got here is Persistence, the Bulldog Realtor, which is a tag and that Bill McCall hung on me. I tell people, and I've told you before, Bill McCall said one day, he said, Charles, that's why I like working with you. He goes, you're like a bulldog. He goes, if I need something, he goes, I just ask you about it. Or if I want something, I just go.
Bulldog, don't let it go.
And he just says, I go after it and I get it. And I think I really am, very persistent as far as to get my clients what it is. And that's my big thing, is always about, I want my clients to be happy. I want my clients to get what they need. And I keep the ego completely out of this. A lot of agents get all ego involved, and it's like, well, I'm not going to do this, or I'm going to do that. I want my client won't do this. I don't care. It has nothing to do with me. It's all about my client. And I think that's sometimes things that agents forget. They make it more about themselves, and they make an adversarial process between the other agent and themselves, because they want to sit there and try to beat them up or to say why one on this and that, and they're not trying to necessarily always get the best thing for their clients, which is what I try to do. Communication. Those of you that know me and that have worked with me, I'm huge on communication. I try to structure based upon what you need. Everyone's different. Some people need a lot of, hand holding. They need a lot of communications. And I tell people, I say, you know what, my phone is on. You can call me anytime you want, whether it's late at night, early at the morning. I said, don't worry about disturbing me. I said, that's what I'm here for, to help you get through. And people a lot of times will have anxiety. They'll call me late at night, early in the morning. They can't sleep, whatnot, and stuff like that. And I said, that's fine. If I'm sleeping, I won't answer. If not, I'll answer the phone and get to you. And especially with the first-time home buyers, it's need a lot. Other people don't. They're a little more sophisticated. You guys know you don't need as much hand-holding. So you just say, Charles, I don't need that much, just a little here and there, and that's fine. And I kind of judge it by what you guys need. I always put my client first, like I said before. That's the big thing. And I have a fiduciary responsibility, and I think a lot of agents forget about that, the fiduciary responsibility. A lot of times agents will sit there on the listing side, and if I'm on the buyer side, I'm asking them questions as far as what's going on with the property, what's going on with their clients. They will go ahead and they will give me tidbits, and I'll ask them, say, do you have any offers on the property? What's going on? And sometimes they'll sit there and say, well, yes, Charles, though the property's at 800,000, my client would probably take 775 or whatever. Now, if I had clients that want to put an offer in, we're going to start off putting an offer on lower down. And if they had thought before, well, maybe we'll just offer them the 800. Now I've got information for my clients that's going to put them in a much better advantage. And that's something I do that not all the agents do. I sit there and I really dig in. When I represent a seller, I dig into the agent. What's going on with the property? Is there anything specific I need to know about? Do you guys have termite? Are there any issues with the property? Is there anything that you want specifically as an agent, that you would like to see when I put the offer in? Is there anything that the sellers want? Do they want a long escrow? Do they want a short escrow? And I really dig in and try to get as much information as I can, so that when I write the offer for my clients, I can put them in the best possible position. And that's a key. I think it's really key, especially in this market nowadays. You have to do that. If you're not doing that, you're not doing your job. Close complicated transactions. I don't look for complicated transactions. They tend to find me. And I think it's because I'm able to get stuff done. I make the impossible happen a lot of the times, and things that it gets crazy, but I'm able to get stuff done where other people sometimes don't. Professionalism under pressure. One thing my dad always said is, as far as when he worked for Barney told me, as far as when I got into real estate, he said, sometimes you just got to eat crow. And one thing I've really learned and I'm really good about is that I can stay completely professional when the other agent on the other side is getting highly emotional. I've had agents cuss me out and scream at me just because I'm asking their clients and them to follow the contract and to do what's required in the contract. And they'll cuss and scream, then they'll hang up. Then they call you back and say, I apologize. I appreciate you being so professional, Charles, this and that. And I think that's really important to me, is that I stay very even keeled. I'm really what I call like this sin eater. I deal with all the pressure and all the sins so that my clients don't have to. And I deal with that stuff. I stay even. I've never cussed. You can say, you're fat, you're ugly, you talk weird, you dress funny, but no one's ever going to say Charles is not professional. And I always try to stay very professional. And I really try to develop good relations with the agent on the other side of the deal to make it a good relationship. And I think that's the key thing to getting a lot of these deals closed. And especially in this market, as far as on the buyer side, if you're representing the buyers and there's multiple offers, you have to develop that great relationship to be able to get in there. I did that recently this summer. I had a transaction where there was 12 offers on the property. They were asking 775. I talked to my client about it. I said, look, we're going to have to go much higher than obviously when this is. We listened to it. We put 3 times the amount of the initial deposit down because she was a cash offer and she's able to put more money down. I said, well, I would recommend we put a lot more down. I want something that's, the deposit is so high, it shocks the people on the other side. They're almost like, wow, this is incredible. Look how much money they're putting down. And we went higher on the price. And also I went ahead and I talked with the agent. I called the agent and asked her all the questions I talked about. And I also, when I talked with her, I said, we're the ones you're going to want to go with. My client is the ones you're going to want to go with to go into escrow. And every time I spoke with her, I talked with her. We developed a really good relationship. My client got the offer out of 12 offers. My client got the offer. We were not the highest offer. And the reason why we got it, and she sent me a nice text, which unfortunately I deleted, but she said the reason why my clients and I went with your offer versus all these other offers was that you were the most professional person out there. She said, besides writing an extremely strong and great offer, she's like, you were the most professional agent. And my clients and I both felt more comfortable as far as dealing with you than with other people. I think that's one thing that's key. It's not always about money. For some people, they always want the highest price. And I tell my sellers this, sometimes when you go with the highest offer, you're going to have a ton of problems that you're not necessarily going to net out at the best amount, because these people, the buyers on their side, will come in after you for all sorts of stuff. So, but I think as far as me doing that, as far as my buyers, it really does make a difference. And also as far as negotiating with my buyers on the other side, as far as with the agent in that, I've had plenty of times and have helped out people in this organization where I've represented them. The agent has said, my seller's not going to credit your buyer any more money, this and that. And invariably I go ahead and get them more money that they were not going to be able to get, supposedly. Okay. I want to give you some real tips just for the sellers. The biggest thing I always tell people is what you need to hear versus what you want to hear. I'm one of those people. I'm a very honest agent. I will tell you exactly what you need to hear. Sometimes people don't want to hear it. A lot of agents will go out there and they'll lie. And I talk about this, especially when you're trying to sell your house. They do it. So they try to buy the listing. They try to tell you the house is worth much more money than it is, or they won't be honest with you and tell you this is what your property is actually worth. It's actually a violation of the realtor's ethics, and you can get in trouble for that it happens a lot where people just lie about that. I will tell people what they need to hear versus what they don't want to hear. The big thing on this is one of my biggest things as far as with selling, whether it is in a market where it is hot like it is now, or whether it's a market where it's slow. Price, price, price. You need to create emotion. You need to price the property a little bit lower than what the market value is, or just right there, because you're going to get get a lot more interest in the property. You're going to drive the price up, and you're going to get a lot more for the property than if you were to sit high and then you have to drop. I like to put my clients in a position of strength. When I can create that emotion, when I can get a lot of offers coming in, I'm able to negotiate with those people and put my client in a very strong position where they can sit there and say, okay, as the buyer, here's what you're going to do this. You're going to cut all your time periods. We're going to get a great, as far as solid offer. You're going to have to remove all your contingencies quickly and don't really expect anything as far as repairs and this and that, or there'll be a very minimal thing that we will do. I'm going to go to the next slide, and then I'll back to this one before I go on. This really shows you, it talks about the art of home pricing. And you can see how it peaks right here, that if you price what happens with the property, the interest. Things kind of peak out the bottom there, and it peaks up in the hill, and about 2 weeks, and it starts to drop. And when things start to drop, it really does. If you price the home appropriately, it's going to sell very quickly. If you price it too high, you're going to sit there. And as you can see, as longer as it goes on, the longer it's going to drop, and the lower you're going to get as far as the price. And you can see where it sells. You end up getting far less money. And I think that's the biggest thing is, if you want to get the most amount, price the home appropriately. Another thing I'd say to sellers, don't overvalue common features. A lot of people sit there and say, hey, I got a brand new roof put on. I spent $40,000 on that. I had new carpet put in. It was hand-dyed wool carpet that I had put in. All homes have flooring. All homes have roof. Just because you spent $40,000 on the roof, it's not going to add $40,000 in value. The same thing if you spent $100,000 on custom hand-dyed wool carpet. If somebody wants wood floors, they're not going to care about that. It's not going to make any difference. As far as your home getting ready for showing, you want it to look like a model home. Everybody knows declutter, make it look beautiful. Try to get some new flowers put in around outside, stuff like that. Touch up the paint, everything, make it look nice. And one of the biggest things I can also say is, absent seller during the showings, make sure, especially nowadays, you're not going to be there. You're not supposed to be under the rules now. You can't be there with the buyer, but just try to stay away from the buyers, because they can go ahead and look through the home, talk openly, versus you're standing there and they're worried about offending you. Okay, the pricing, we already talked about that. So anyhow, real quick, 5 tips for the buyers. This is absolutely key. You've got to get pre-approved. You have to be approved in this market. If you're not, go get pre-approved with John Galkowski, you're trouble, because things go too quickly, and you can't. Agents won't look at the offers if it's if you're just pre-qualified. You need to have a needs and wants list. As far as what do you really need, what do you want, and then I always tell people, as far as compromise, you have to be able to compromise. The average home buyer, it takes them 5 purchases before they end up in what they call their quote dream home. So realize that, it may take you a little while to get exactly where you want. Another thing, be prepared to move quickly. In this market, you have to move quickly. I never try to push people to buy a house. I don't care what they buy, when they buy it, but if you really like a home and a property, and especially in this market, you have to move quickly. Stuff goes, the good property goes fast. I mean, you'll have some properties that won't even last a day or two on the market if they're priced properly. And I put, your desires versus your relatives and your friends and opinions. It doesn't matter. If you like something, real estate is like art, whether it's like art, food, music, your partner, whatever, everybody has different taste. And when people sit there and they say, well, my family says they don't like the house, or they say my children don't like the house, or my grandpa doesn't like the house, they don't have to live in the house. Do you like the home? Does it fit your needs? If the answer is yes, then that's all you need to worry about. Okay. Just some advice from me. Okay. Prop 19. Gary talked about this as far as some of the changes, as far as the Prop 19, the Parent-Child Act. I'm not going to really get into this because he's talked about it. And if you want to know more about it, you can. This came from the tax assessor's office. Because of this, Jeff Bridges was one of the reasons why this was changed, and I'll talk to you later about that because we're running short on time. I'm going to talk with Gary about that, or Nick, because there's some financial stuff going on there that people could get hit on. Okay, so the other part of Prop 19, which this is what I consider is the good part, is the senior exclusion from reassessment. Okay, so under Prop 60, that allowed people to buy. In other words, so you have your tax basis now. If you bought a home, let's say you bought a home in 1980, you paid $100,000 for that home. Now that home is worth $1 million. Okay, your tax basis was $100,000, and it's slowly being assessed. So let's say hypothetically it's at $200,000 now. Well, if you were to sell your house and buy another house, if you're able to bring that basis of the $200,000 to the purchase of the new house that is $1 million. Under the current laws, the value of the house you were purchasing had to be the same value as the house that you were selling, okay, when you moved it. Or if you waited a year, you could add an additional 5% onto the $1 million, so it'd be $1,050,000, or it was in 2 years, it'd be $1,100,000. So you had to do that, okay, and you had 2 years to do that. And there was only 10 counties within the state that allowed that, okay? Now that's just changing, okay? So starting on April 1st. So if any of you are in escrow, and if you have a home that you are selling, you're going to go upgrade, you're going to upgrade it in the home, and you did not realize that, okay? Now it's going to change the stuff. So now once you're over 55, instead of being able to do it only once and bring your tax basis, you can bring it 3 times, okay? It's got to be your primary residence. Now there's no more cap. So what you can do is they call it the blended assessment, okay? You've got 2 years you have to do it, but it's statewide. It's not just within the 10 counties. So if we go back to the example that I gave you guys, if you purchased your home for $100,000, your tax base is at $200,000, you're selling it for $1 million. Let's say now you want to upgrade and say, I want to buy a house that's $1.5 million, okay? Well, now you take that tax basis of the $200,000, which is from you're selling for $1 million. You go ahead and you take the difference between the $1 million and the $1.5 million, which is $500,000. Now your tax base is going to be $700,000. The $200,000 you already had, that you're bringing from your existing property, and the $500,000, which is the difference between the $1 million you sold it for and the $1.5 million that you're paying. So instead of paying taxes on $1.5 million, you're paying taxes on $700,000. So it's saving you a lot of money. And I think this is the one good thing that came out of Prop 19. So if any of you guys have more questions about that, let me know. It's good statewide. So, and it's in all the counties now, which before it was limited. Okay, COVID and real estate. There's a lot of stuff going on as far as the COVID. Obviously, this is some of the forms that we have. This has to be posted outside of every home because people want to know, is it safe to sell my house? Is it safe to view real estate? Okay, you've got to wear a mask inside. People have to wash their hands, or they have to use the disinfectant stuff when you get there. They don't want you touching things. You're only allowed, one party is only allowed in at a time. What I mean by parties, if you have a couple that's trying to buy a house, they're allowed in with their agent, but you can't have other agents in there and stuff. There's no more open houses, essentially the way they were used to be done. This is the property entry form, which is anytime that somebody, let's say you're selling your house, anytime that somebody comes into your house, they have to send this to me ahead of time. They have to sign who's coming. They have to understand that all the rules and laws as far as COVID, they have to say, no, we haven't been around COVID or anybody we know. This form right here, Berkshire Hathaway, we were the ones, our company was the ones that came out with this, essentially came out with the form before anybody else statewide. And then what happened is the Realtor Association looked at the form and other brokerages were asking us about it, and they came forward and said, hey, can we use yours? And they based, as far as this form, upon ours. This is what I talk about, the legal, and as far as the legal backing that we have, is that our legal people are so good, our attorneys are so good that a lot of times we get forms like this are created from what our people are doing. So, okay, onto the inventory about what a lot of people want to know what's going on in the market. So this is for December, and then as far as you can see, also for last year. So if you look right there, and you can see how far down we are. We're down about, we're really far down as far as properties that we had as far as what's in December that was on the market. Okay, you got detached homes, and as far as that you overlook it there, and there's the attached. Now the current numbers, and I looked this up today. I looked this up to make sure that I had the exact statistics. But I looked it up this morning, and as far as with the homes, currently in the MLS right now, there's 1,403 detached homes that are on the market. There's 984 condos, twin homes, row homes, you know, stuff that you would consider attached as far as that. But the inventory is extremely low. You can see how, you know, you can see how low it was, and it got really low down around June and July and stuff like that, because people finally were really buying again. But the inventory is super low out there right now. Okay, and you've got to go look back through time and see how it's peaked and how it's really come down. Okay, here's the closed sales to date. So we sold less. There's less homes that were sold, not a ton lot, but definitely we were, as far as the inventory is down. The sales are down. We're not selling as much. The market is moving really quickly. A lot of the reasons why the sales or stuff moving so quickly, interest rates are low, and then we have historical low interest rates, and also there's just not a lot of inventory on the market. I mean, it's just like I said, there's very little inventory on the market. Just to kind of give you an idea on how much supply we have, you can see where we've dropped from 2018 to 2019 down to 2020. And as far as detached homes, we have less than a month, which is like, that's hardly anything. I think a normal market is like 6 months inventory. So we're down to slightly less than a month. I mean, there's very little inventory out there. It's a great time to sell. If you're interested in selling, it's a great time. And even I would say I'm buying, because the interest rates are so low right now. You may be paying a little more than you want for buying a house, but you're locked in on that interest rate. And once the interest rates start going back up, that's going to make it, obviously your payment's going to be a lot higher, and it's going to cost you more. Median sales price, to kind of give you an idea on the median sales price, you can see how far up, average median sales price was about 710 as far as for detached homes, about 460 on the, as far as on the attached, the condos and whatnot. It's just been going up, up, up. It's really bumped up this last year. Okay, the average sales price, and here's where you see the average sales price, because sometimes people don't always understand the median. I think last year we were about $923,000 for 2020 as far as the median sales price, and you can see the big jump up there. So we went way up, went up about 12% or whatnot. Okay. Days on market until the sale. And that just kind of shows you can see how things were dropped. We were already in a very tight market in 2018 and 19. For December, you can see the days, and we dropped down here. You dropped out in 19 days, and that's generally, even December, as you guys probably know, is one of the slowest months as far as for selling homes. And you can see there, though, that there's just very little time on the market as far as for the properties. If they're priced appropriately, you still need to see stuff sit there and sit because it's overpriced, or that comes back on again. Year to date, they're saying it was averaged about 25 days, which is incredibly low. And I think that's about